Hey guys, this is the first ever edition of The Shoot in association with Hit the Road with Dave Boyce. It is a roundtable discussion type show. I have three guests with me. First of all, you know him as the popular duet with Greaser James Carr. Yeah, he was Tommy Starr. Then, of course, he became Mr. Nice Guy. Kent Gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome James Smith.
Hey guys, good to be here, Dave.
Next to me, to the right of me, he's a huge wrestling fan, not just local, but around the world. He's also a multi-time wrestling trivia champion and the graphic designer for Wrestle Center. Chris Cass is here.
I am here, Dave. Thank you for having me on the show and throwing out that little acknowledgement for me.
Yeah, what is it again? What trivia?
It's, NoDQ.com, Square Circle Trivia at the boardroom here in Halifax, San Jose's WrestleCon Trivia.
Oh, God, look at this guy.
Wow. Yeah.
Jeez.
Long accolades.
Speaking of champions, I got the Maritime legend here, multi-time champion, original member, Cardinal Sinners. Original. He's been WWE, WCW. Of course, I'm talking about one and only Wildman Gary Williams.
Yo, yo, yo.
How you doing, sir?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good,
I just
man.
want to mention right off the top here, I love the fact that you announced Chris before James. I love that.
No, I did James first.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Okay.
I love the fact that you... Okay. Here we go. Because... I'm thinking that in wrestling terms, the main event, the jobber's going to announce for, but when you announce him for, you think...
Yeah, opening match. I got to set the tone,
Well, I just saw him directly across from me.
Never mind what happened the last 2.5 minutes, okay?
And I'm not editing the show at all.
Of course not. No, fuck no. Everybody knows I'm an idiot.
It works out the best this way because you always remember the first thing and the last thing.
That's right.
There you go. What a thing to remember.
The way the show is going to work, I'm going to have different guests every time. They do not know the topic of the discussion. It's not going to be specific towards maritime wrestling or wrestlers. It's just going to be a topic in professional wrestling. The topic of this show is going to be heels and faces. So I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions, give your guys' opinions and thoughts, and we'll see where it goes. Feel free to swear, Gary.
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, for anybody young who doesn't know the term heel and face, James, what is a heel?
The heel. So it's the heel's job to basically make sure the baby face or the good guy gets over with the fans. So that's essentially the heel's job. A lot of times the heel, people say, well, the heel's the bad guy. Heel's essentially, the wrestler in the ring that will get sympathy for the baby face, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that his sole job, Gary?
No. I mean, that's a huge part of it, of course. Because, I mean, if the heel is a true heel and he does his job like he's supposed to, that baby face is going to be over like a motherfucker, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a very, very important aspect, but obviously it's not, the only job of the heel.
Right. And we're saying baby face, so of course, on the flip side, babyface is
good guy.
The good guy.
And the bad guy is the heel.
Right.
If you talk to Butcher Vachon, he will tell you it's the heel.
The first Vachon mentioned tonight. I'm sure there'll be a few.
Yes.
In this day and age, though, is there such thing as a heel and face? Like, for instance, Roman Reigns, let's say. Technically, he's the baby face, but the fans boo him out of the building. So,
yeah.
Is he a baby face? Is he a heel? Chris?
I think this might come where the whole tweener thing. It's at the times have really changed. I didn't start watching wrestling until the late '90s, and it was around that time that the kind of typical heel and face dynamic I think kind of changed, and people just liked whoever they wanted to. There was no more here's the great American Hulk Hogan, cheer for him. We're going to put him against bad guys. We're going to get him up against people that hate America, big guys that you should be scared of. Around that time is when it changed.
Was that when Vince McMahon did the famous there's no black or white, there's just shades of gray speech?
It was around that time, yeah. It was when he compared it to Jerry Springer, I believe, in that promo.
I don't remember that promo, those shades of gray.
Yeah, it was when he came out and pretty well said kayfabe is dead.
It's more like reality TV.
Yeah, the Attitude Era is upon us.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as far as in my opinion, I think anybody would agree. The big thing, like, when kayfabe was dead, that didn't really affect the heel babyface perspective. But what I think really did it is Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was kind of the guy who there was always, guys before him that, some people would like, but he came in as a heel. And just the way he came out, he was just the coolest fucking guy on earth, right? Everybody wanted to be him.
Yeah, that's when it became cool to like the bad guy.
Exactly. So how can you boo a guy that you just you want to be? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that really, really switched everything up. And I'm sure even Vince McMahon was thinking, what the hell's going on, right? He's loving the dollars. But that was, to me, that big transition from, okay, now we got to... Mm-hmm. And it became a big transition for the workers because now it's not just, okay, he's the heel, so we're just going to boo for him because he is the heel, right? He's the bad guy. But that's when the boys had to step up their games as a heel and be that vicious heel that people legit hate you, don't like you. Mike Hughes is the perfect example. Uh-huh. Mike Hughes doesn't get heat. Mike Hughes gets like fucking shoot heat.
Right.
He goes out there and he's such a good heel. People want to fucking beat the shit out of him in the crowd.
Right.
You can pull that off. You know damn well that you're doing your job as a heel. You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Well, before I get back,
that's hard to do nowadays.
Yeah. Before I get back to the whole cool factor with the heels, you were talking about Mike Hughes, different heat. What are some of the things a heel can do? Like there's cheap heat.
Yep.
Like your town sucks.
Yeah.
What is some of the creative good things that a good heel can do to get legit heat?
Well, just kind of commenting on what you guys were saying earlier, this relates in that, I mean, there's your heel face as far as your character goes, but I also think that you can take that a step further, kind of like what you were saying with Mike, and Mike or whoever else would kind of employ this, and that's you can use your work in the ring to be that heat. They may not like your character, but I mean, or may not think your character is a heel, but if with your work, if you were just intense enough and vicious enough in that ring, you should be able to get sympathy for that babyface, really no matter who they are, as long as they stay alive and aren't just a dead fish on the mat kind of thing, right? But but yeah, I mean, I think if there's a difference between, okay, this is a good guy versus a bad guy, and the fan also saying, oh, holy smokes, he's beating the crap out of that guy. Like, come on, dude, like, let's go. And you can kind of turn it that way as well.
Yeah, because in a match, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that they're going to boo or it's if the babyface is a top-notch 5-star babyface like a Shawn Michaels and stuff like that. Well, the heel doesn't really have to do much. They're going to cheer from it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you're solely thinking, okay, what can I do? Is you're working, a good-looking young babyface that the people are going to like, but they don't know who he is. So you're really trying to avoid not getting cheered. I mean, it's hard.
Is it harder for the heel or for the face to get that reaction that they need from the crowd?
Well, it's
because a babyface can go out there and get cheap pops too.
Yeah,
like complete opposite of what I said earlier.
I would say it's
we love your city.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely harder for the heel because the heel. I mean, it's harder for people. I don't know. That's kind of a tricky question, to be honest with you, because it's hard on both sides, but it all depends on who's in there.
Right.
So
it depends on who the
workers are.
Because there's good heels and bad heels.
Yeah. So I mean, really, in my opinion, I feel the heel. It's up to him to really. If they're cheering him, you better change your fucking minds.
Right.
So, like I said, I mean, I've failed at it before, and I've succeeded at it before. But it's just you got to have that. You try to get heat. You don't want to get personal heat with the fans in a verbal way, so to speak. But you try to get that heat where people can just look you in the eye and they're like, "What a fucking ass!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really hard. And that's what I'm saying. That obviously Mike Hughes has a gift of because, man.
Because I remember
Peter Smith, like they want to fucking shank them, like it's crazy.
Yeah, Peter's always says the thing where he says, "Once I'm done beating him, I'm going to come out in the audience and beat every one of you."
And that's kind of it's not cheap heat, but coming from if I was to say that, I would call it cheap heat. But from a guy who's
for someone like me,
6'6", 310 pounds,
who could
that's actually
do it.
believable, And if anybody knows Pete. That's definitely possible, but yeah, it's funny. It's just it's a really really hard craft to nail down and just
Does it matter where you are, where the event is? Because I remember, we talked about Pete. He was telling me a story about in India where kayfabe is alive and well.
Yeah.
He said all I had to do was raise my arm,
Yep.
and they booed him out of the building. So, like, location-wise, do you guys find?
I mean, I can't
different
really
towns
speak for
or
that as far as internationally. I've wrestled North America, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I can only speak of different towns. You know, you go somewhere they love you. You go somewhere else and
Right.
they don't give a shit. You know, so it'd be harder to get over at the place they don't really give a shit.
Right.
Again, depending on who you're working.
Yeah.
So
See, a lot of people talk about the Halifax fans. That
Yes.
they're hard to
yes.
they're
See,
hard
the
to win over.
Halifax fans are probably like the WWE's, Madison Square Garden fans, right?
Right.
It's that same. It's like a.
They know
Yeah.
way more than
From sitting in that
You see
crowd,
someone in
you
Kentville.
that's
So
all
for
like the
instance.
first 2 years of Wrestle Center shows, it became a point where once we learned everyone who came in, like even like you, James, like it was like, don't tell us who to like now. We're gonna like who we want to like.
Right.
And if Peter Smith comes out and beats the hell out of Dylan Sharp and chokeslams him 6 times, we're gonna fucking do one more time, please. Let's see 7.
Guess what? Pete ain't going to be the heel that night.
So, we had this conversation, and we mentioned the cool factor when you're a heel, but the fans think you're so cool that they're going to cheer. I had a conversation the other day with one of our local guys who is a heel, but he's getting over with. They just love no matter what he does, they'll cheer him. And he came backstage, and he was so frustrated because he was like, I had a conversation with Peter Smith the other night, and he was telling me to do this, do this, do this, and I was doing it, and the fans were still cheering me. So, what can he do as a heel or can he do anything? You know what I mean? Like Steve Austin was that way.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Covey Christ.
Kobe Curse, yeah.
Covey Christ is a heel,
Yeah.
but he's the cool heel
Yeah,
right now, so the fans are cheering him, and he's like, what can I do to
Well,
get
that's
them to
the thing,
boo me?
because nowadays, where the heel fade, it doesn't work like it used to, because, wrestling has evolved and it's changed. Where back in the day, it didn't really matter, or really, some of these moves weren't out there yet. Where you get a guy like him, you could see him come out, you boo him, you don't like the way he looks, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as he starts, he's so good in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
and he does all these cool shit, you're like, whoa.
Right.
Like this, you just fall in love with the guy as far as a fan because he does really cool shit.
Right.
In that case, how do you get? He can try. He can take the task on, but I would think
Would that almost be one of those things where he needs to set up something big and then boom, rest hold?
No,
Like set
I
up
was gonna say, you might need to change his style up,
Yeah, like
depending
slow
on.
it down.
I think personally, I think that's up to the promoter. If I was a promoter of a show and I'd be watching, I'd be like, you know what, this guy ain't a fucking heel for me anymore. This guy's a baby face.
Right.
You look at it on a money's perspective. He's going to make more money. I'm going to make, but
I think Greaser James Carr fell in the same category.
yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about, actually.
Right.
And then you said Kobe. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's it. I think personally, if you really want the guy, you need that heel. If I think the promoters should maybe throw him in there as a face. Give the crowd what they want for a while. Then when he turns, then
Right.
Because once the crowd fucking falls in love with him and he's this fucking superstar,
Yeah.
oh, I love Kobe, and then he turns that way there. That's gonna you prick.
Right.
That's
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
go ahead.
That's
I was
just what
gonna-
that's. What the fuck do I know?
Oh, more than us. But I was just going to comment on going back to doesn't matter the location. I haven't really been international either, but locally, like we have the Halifax fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even Halifax especially. I guess that would probably be the only main spot. I mean, we could maybe even say maybe even Moncton to a point, someone that's more used to getting wrestling and
Right.
things like that, versus the more rural areas. I think back last year, ECPW up in Sydney Mines, like old kind of Grand Prix wrestling,
Right.
kind of wrestling town. That's like the whole heel babyface thing. That's still very much alive. I worked opening match against Kilgrave, and you know, it was one of the funnest matches I ever had because I could just be the cheesy white meat baby face. You just like, come on, guys, yeah, and raise my hand, and then they're all, yeah, and it was like, oh, it was awesome. You know, just that feeling of like, you know, they're right there, and they were kind of chomping at the bit. Where like, say the Halifax fans, it's different when they say, okay, you know, let me see you jump and land on your neck 5 times, and we might cheer a little bit.
Would it also like kind of depend on how many kids are in the crowd too?
I just wrote that down. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Know your audience.
With something you said, when it comes down to when you're asking about, you know, does it matter where you are?
Right.
So, which would be a different audience, but it depends on the demographic of the crowd.
Right.
I mean, if you go to a place like, well, the first time we ever went to Escazone with Real Action Wrestling, I mean, there was, oh my God, there was, I think the final count was 1,100 or something like that in this little Reddy arena. And I mean, I think 1,006 of them were fucking kids.
Right.
You know, like, so when that's the case, don't worry about your heel being a heel.
Yeah.
It's going to work because they fall for the, you know, baby face. They're easy to get going, right? But if it's a, you know, smart mark fucking crowd like Halifax, you know, God love them. But I mean, if it's that's tough.
Yeah,
if they decide that they're not going to boo you or they're not going to cheer for you, whatever.
That's
fucked.
it. Right.
I was
no
stuck
matter
in
what
that
you
for
do.
a long time.
Yeah.
If I was a heel, those motherfuckers would cheer me.
Right.
If I was a fucking baby face, you think they'd fucking nope. Here I come out, well, fucking trying to fucking get over. Fuck you, Wildman. I'm like, are you kidding me? What the fuck do I have to do?
But they're doing it. But I think they're doing it just to be the smart ass.
Of course, because the crowd now is, you know, they want to be part of the show.
There you go, yeah.
But I remember when I was young and a fan going to RAW shows, we would go solely to shit on Frank Parker, who was a referee. But that was our goal for the 2 hours, was to rattle his fucking chain, and we did it many nights.
And that's good, man. I hear some people, you know, shit on smart marks, you know, they ruin. You know, I hear a lot of debate about that, where, you know, they should, you know, they paid their hard-earned money, and, you know, so they have the right to do whatever the fuck they want on the show. Well, that's true to a degree, but it's like, you got to let them be. Some people are totally opposed to the fact, and I think it's more old school people, that they have a hard time accepting that kayfabe is gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody knows, but
yeah,
they have a really hard time to just accept the fact that the marks know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
That reminds me of Fredericton, because it's an older crowd, but there's about 7 guys that drink heavily and go to the show, and they know everything, but they almost try to hijack the entire show. Like there's a line there.
That show that I went to with you in Fredericton when we drove up for those 2 shows, I've never seen someone more hated than Shane Stevens was in Fredericton. Like, people were coming out, and like these guys were standing up and like almost giving him death threats. And I'm like, what did he do here?
So, Chris, as a fan from Halifax who goes to shows, how do you guys decide, all right, this guy is going to be, like, even though he's a baby face, we're going to boo him? Is it looks, their personality?
You know what? It's all about, like, the character. If I can get, as a fan, if I can get invested in a character, get behind them, they have something for me to be interested in and aren't just, like, a generic guy out there in tights,
right?
I'm going to get behind him. Like, you know, when you mentioned Greaser James Carr, it was easy to get behind him. He was different.
Right.
It almost became fun to cheer him because we wanted to see him succeed.
Right.
And we figured, like, let's start cheering this guy, and maybe the company will get behind him, and because we want to see him go up. I don't care if he's heel or face. I just want to see him do good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way most fans are across the board. Is at the end of the day, they just want to see a good show. They want to be entertained, and they want to feel like they were a part of it. You know, which I think that's how I think it should be as well.
Yeah.
But going back on the heel face thing, with my own experience, I mean, when I was trying to be a heel, because I started off as a heel the first year, but that didn't really matter. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing anyway. But once I got, you know, a couple of years in and started getting the flow of stuff, and, you know, I was starting to get a little recognized, people knew who I was. It's I was a heel, but my biggest mistake, which I've done throughout pretty much all my fucking career, is I'm this heel that comes out, this cocky fucking guy, you know, trying to get, you know, shoot heat. And I think the mistake that a lot of people do, just like I did, is you go out there, you're this vicious heel, you'll do anything to piss them off, you walk back, and then come intermission, come after the show, you're out there mingling with everybody, laughing, you know, kissing babies. And That I think is a huge part of establishing your character as a heel.
Right.
Is
heels should not come out
hell
during
no,
intermission
hell no.
or after.
I don't have that many regrets. Well, actually, I have a shit ton, but anyway. But it would be that. It would be. I would just my suggestion, if there's a lot young guys getting into the business or working or whatever, is try to be a heel all the time.
Right.
If you want to be a heel and you want to get over as a heel, don't talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might suck. You want to go out, mingle, have a beer, but just be a dick all the time. You know what I mean? Like during the show time. Like,
right.
Just don't go out there and chat.
I know with UCW, we're trying. Like we know kayfabe is dead. Like there's nothing you can do, but we're trying little things. Like the heels aren't allowed to go out during intermission or after the show, and there seems to be like after the shows now, the fans can just hang out.
Yep.
And that's coming to an end.
That's probably fucking part of my fault because that's what I did years ago when I shouldn't. Yeah. And now people just expect it, right?
So now we have security trying to usher them out. I think Chris even got sour.
I was like, what the hell? Are you kicking me out? Like, I know these guys. I'm talking to them. So thankfully, New Scott was like, no, you're with me. Come here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're trying. Yeah. But going back to what you were saying, like
it's hard to kick somebody out and say, please come back next time, though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But years ago,
oh yeah,
man, the good guys, bad guys would have separate locker rooms.
Oh yeah.
I remember as a little boy, I used to hang out backstage at Grand Prix Wrestling, and Killer Carl Krupp was the scariest man I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Back in those days, when kayfabe was still happening, like you're talking about, I wouldn't dare go backstage.
Yeah, he from the time you saw him till he got dressed to leave in his car to go home, he was Killer Carl Krupp. Yeah. Like I was petrified of that man. Now, and I think a big factor in it as well as social media.
Oh yeah, it's a total different game.
And we'll get into how social media has changed that. But I was just in my mind, I wanted to say this before I forget it. We were building up a match last month, heated rivalry. Two guys like they hated each other, and they were going to settle the score at the next show. But then they were posting pictures of the two of them at the bar, and they have all their fans on their Facebook. And I was like, I know kayfabe is dead, but it's so frustrating.
Well, that's the thing because, see, in my mind, when I wrestle, I'm going out there as a heel. I want the compliments I want to hear from the match and the reaction I want to get is like, okay, we know this is a work, but holy fuck, like, work or not, this guy, I think, is really kicking this guy's ass.
Right.
Like, he's really laying this shit in. So, to me, it's obviously bad in a way, but it's also good because, again, like I was saying earlier about the heel-face thing, you got to step up your game, right? So, you got to make sure that, you don't want to hurt the guy, but let me tell you, since kayfabe's been dead, or we have, everybody knows it's a work, I've gotten a lot stiffer.
Yeah.
I mean, I lay shit in. Because if you do want to, like a JP Sims punch, like I watched on his last show, JP, you know better, his punches were like so like transparent. You can, they're going to shit on it, right? And I don't care if I stiff the guy. If it's going to look good, that's all that matters.
Right.
But you got to fucking try to trick him. It's like watching a movie. You know it's not real, but you see an explosion, people die and shit.
Yeah.
For the moment, you're believing in it.
Versus you see a crappy CGI explosion,
like
early '90s, like it's so bad.
Yeah,
right?
when the bad camera angles, you hit somebody with a punch and it's like 3 feet away.
Yeah.
Should heels be doing like flashy moves, or should they just be pound and ground?
I mean, there are exceptions. Kobe Christ, like you said, but I've always been a big believer that there's no such thing as a heel move and a babyface move. Okay. It's a wrestling move,
right?
It's all in how you do it or how you know what I mean.
The timing of it, even
timing's a big
timing because you can't. How many times? I mean, it's happened quite a few times. I'm not going to mention names or anything, but like, oh no, I'm not going to do that because that's a babyface move. I'm a heel. Like what?
Right.
What do you mean a baby? Like what the fuck's a babyface move? I never saw the book of fucking heels can only do these moves. It's irrelevant. Like, do whatever the fuck you do as a wrestler.
In saying that, though, there are some things.
If I'm a face, I don't change my moves.
Right, but there are some like dirty tactics that only a heel could do.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're a face, you wouldn't eye poke your opponent when the ref wasn't looking.
Hogan does a lot of eye poke.
No, damn. If you're Rowdy Piper,
I take that back.
If you're Rowdy Piper as a heel and you just did a face turn, are you not going to put? Of course you are.
True.
You know, there's exceptions. If you're not known and you're a new guy, yeah, don't go in there fucking dancing and looking like the Rockers and start poking eyes.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But once you establish your character as who you are as a heel, well, even when you do the face turn, whenever it is, don't, you know, if you put like out of the blue as a heel, you'll do a desperation and poke the eyes, but you don't do it all the time. You don't do it the odd time.
Right.
That's okay. That's different. But I'm talking guys that really made poking eyes famous, like Roddy Piper.
Right, Piper.
Of course, you're going to keep doing it.
Right.
Cuban Assassin is a face. Is he not going to pull the gimmick out?
Right.
And you know, get people in the throat. Of course he is. That's his gimmick. So it depends on the character.
Go ahead, James.
I remember a seminar I did with, well, I was part of a seminar with Lance Storm, and he was saying that that heels, they should, if they're going to do a flashy move, or, you know, what people might say is a babyface move, use it as your cutoff. So, you know, the babyface fighting up, boo, 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 coming back, you know, heel hits him with a nice flashy move that kind of devastates the babyface. That only helps the heel get more heat in that.
And that would come into timing.
Right.
As a fan, I would 100% know if a babyface was going on this big comeback, I'm getting behind him, and then boom, heel hits his finisher and pins him, I'd be like, you dick. How could you? But there was one thing I wanted to mention about the when you said about the gimmick when a guy gets behind a thing is that he gets known for. More so to you, Gary, as like the veteran. What do you think about heel selling merchandise?
Like Chris Cass taking over my interview.
I just wanted to know because I've heard a lot of things about it, and
I don't know. I got an email from this Chris Cass guy saying, "Yeah, my podcast is tonight. Do you mind
coming?
Like Dave on the show?
We're gonna
Take
pretend,
it over."
we're going to let Dave think it's his. But
I don't know if you had that in your notes or not, Dave.
It's
but
right here.
I don't.
I wrote
Ladies
it
and
down.
gentlemen, welcome to the Chris Cass Show.
Let me see those notes, Dave.
No, please. Geez.
Sorry, what was
I'll
the
just
question?
drink.
What do you think about heel selling merchandise?
Ah, man, that's in old school. The old school kayfabe part of me, of course, says, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
But then again, that's how workers make their money.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of these things. Like, man, what can you do? Like, you know, I was just thinking to myself, maybe someone will steal this idea. Go for it. But it's like, maybe I go stand at the table as a heel, sit there, don't say a fucking word to anybody, and I got a manager say, and he's the one saying, "Oh, you want to," you know, and you just sit there like a dick and
Right.
just sign.
Yeah. Like you don't want to be
because
there.
how can you get over as a heel when you're sitting there signing pictures, taking
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's
I
some
would
like,
definitely eliminate taking the pictures.
Uh-huh.
But then again, that's some of the guys' gimmick too.
You're right.
You know, they'll sell the
I think
pictures.
there's some undercover merchandise sales. I think it's
Yes.
Lincoln Steen that sells Steen 8x10s.
Stinking Lincoln.
Yeah.
Andre
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
it too, as the
Yeah.
You Suck.
I think Andre was your...
Chris Hicks
I
did
thought
it.
Andre
Andre
was
was
the
too.
originator of that
Yes.
shit.
Yeah,
And
he
I'll
was.
back him up 100% because I remember the day, I forget where it was years ago. He says, "What do you think of this?" And he brought a sign that said, "You suck."
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
dude, that is fucking brilliant.
Right.
Those signs are everywhere
Yeah.
now. That's great because who's not going to buy a "You suck" sign?
Yeah.
And they're going to use it on him.
Yeah, of course.
I was like, man, that's crazy, but I never saw it before
You
that.
can shove that, and like some kid will shove that in your face, and you can
Dude.
grab it, rip it in half.
What
Yeah.
better idea is that? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Chris Hicks did it with the Chris Hicks Sucks t-shirt.
Yeah.
Everyone's buying them.
I mean, there's ways to kind of tweak that, but it is no matter what. If you're there signing autographs, talking to people,
Yeah.
it's going to affect your character at some degree, of course.
We were touching base on what a heel and face should and shouldn't do in moves and whatnot, but William Regal, who is highly liked and respected,
Definitely.
he tweeted this week that a babyface should never argue with a ref that it was a 3 count or that it was a 2 count and not a 3 count.
Yeah.
That a babyface should not say, "Come on, that was a 3."
I can't argue with that.
Okay.
I've done it as a face. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've done it a lot of times. I'll be like, "Oh my God, that was 3." And he's like, "No." But yeah, I mean, if you want to get right down to the nitty gritty and details, yeah, of course. Don't
Because
do it.
he said it made the babyface come off as a whiny little bitch.
Exactly.
Which a babyface should not come across
No,
as.
I agree with that 100%.
We said social media. How? So if for instance, if you were a heel right now, what would you do or not do on social media? Like, do you allow fans on your Facebook page?
Well, I didn't create, because I'm not a big social media guy,
Right.
but I've had a Facebook account since I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. And I never made a fan page because at that point I've got like 5,000 friends, and what am I going to do? Start like divide? You know, I said screw it. So I just kept mine, and yeah, I invited all the fans because I'm one of these guys. If they message me, when I do actually check Facebook, I will message you back. I don't give a shit if I know you or I don't.
Right.
But I wish I would have separated the two, which everybody does now. You got, you know, your
I don't have fans on my page.
Wildman, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's how essentially I was going to do that, but there was just too many friends, right? So it was hard. It took forever.
How many friends do you have on Facebook there, Chris? You being
is there still the 5,000 limit?
I think there is. I only have
because I couldn't
300.
Really?
Yeah.
Wrestlers?
Friends?
No, I'm talking about like
wrestlers. Oh.
Like
I'd say maybe like 40.
Yeah.
If that. I mean, I know a lot of guys like not from here too that I have on there, but it's mostly the ones I have interactions with. Like I'm not going to go and add like some guy that I've never talked to before, but you know, like I have like James on there because I consider James a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
So James, so in saying that, as a fan going to a show, if James came out as a heel, even though he's your friend,
I'm gonna boo the shit out of him.
Would you boo him?
Yes,
you would.
100%.
Thank you.
I know I'm still a fan, but I know what they're doing, and if that helps them out, further their career,
right.
I'm gonna string the crowd along with me.
Right.
Yeah. And that's funny. You know, we were talking about. You know, sometimes the crowd can take over a show and, you know, kind of almost flip the script a little bit with the heels and faces. And I could be wrong on this, but you know, something I've kind of thought about. It'd be interesting to hear your opinions. But, you know, if it's a local wrestling show and you have those core, say, 10, 15 guys that come to every show and they all kind of sit together and really influence the crowd, if the rest of the crowd is fairly new to wrestling or only comes to the odd wrestling show, you know, they don't know who the heels and faces are coming into the show. They're going to learn or think they're learning who the heels and faces are from this crowd. So if I come out as a heel, but this group of guys is putting me over and being the loudest with everybody as a face, a lot of these other crowds are going to say, "Oh, I guess that's a face," right? Or and then if they do come back, they don't remember me as being heel. Oh, that's a face. And next thing you know, it's like, you know, more and more people in the crowd just think, you know, by default.
I think it can definitely influence the new people there, the new crowd.
Yeah.
But I mean, it all comes down to the heel again. If he goes in there and starts cheating and stuff, the new crowd, I would say, would be more persuaded by the guy that they came to watch and pay for in the ring than the crowd out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, I say that, you know how people react. They like to react the same as your
crowd
surrounding.
psychology.
Exactly. So again, it comes down to if you're a really good heel, they'll boo you and they'll cheer you, which you know has happened to me most times. I get the people that cheer me, and then of course you've got the smart marks that are, you know, pissing me off, which is great.
Has that happened where the fans got under your skin so bad that
no, God, I adore the fans. I mean, it's I've always, you know, even if, you know, I'm a face and I'm trying to get, it's frustrating, but I'm not gonna no, not at all.
James, have you ever lost your cool?
No, not a fan. I mean, I haven't. To be frank, I haven't worked enough matches for that to happen. I don't think. No. You know, like I said, I've had different times where, like, you know, I had a bunch of buddies come to a show, and then I'm supposed to be the heel, and they're just, you know, like cheering me to no end.
I think I do remember that show. It was like there's like 25 people over there, like in the one corner, going Tommy Star. Tommy Star. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, so I just went with it. I was like, I still was a heel, but I just.
That's another aspect of it too. It's not only how good of a heel, but how you react.
That was going to be my next question.
Like, you know, like you said, you know, you kind of go with it and you kind of react to them. And I mean, I've seen guys, I can't think of an example, but I know I've seen it a few times, is that Colt Cabana, let's use him because he's the perfect example of this, is the crowd can never get a one-up on Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
He is so fucking witty and good in there. It's incredible.
Right.
But he's just so good at being the character he is as a heel that even the crowd that like him they're like, fucking asshole. You know? So it depends on, you know, I would never be able to pull it off.
Right.
But
I remember when Christopher Daniels was here, and he was he was a great heel, but he said a lot of personal comments to the front row fans that I felt personally may have crossed the line. James, you're giggling, so you know what I'm talking
You
about.
obviously know the story. I don't think I know.
said his name. Like, I just remember, like, he came in and they did this old VIP thing, and I mean, so they had a lot of the wrestlers just signing autographs before the show and things like that. And I mean, I got the, I was standing by Christopher Daniels. I mean, nobody was.
Go to the bathroom.
Oh, we lost Gary.
No, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, so, I was standing at the same table as Christopher Daniels, and people, if they chirped him, I mean, he was still in heel mode that whole time, talking about heel and face. He was in heel mode, and he would just say the most personal, like, low blow things and cut deep. And I was standing beside him thinking, I'm embarrassed to stand beside him. Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
right.
Part of me is like, good for you for just committing to your character. But part of me is just like, holy smokes, I'm not used to that.
Right.
I remember one show he was at, we chirped this older lady that was sitting in the front row who's like, you suck. And he turns around and goes, your dentist sucks.
So is there things that heels that a heel can say that is too much? Like you don't say anything about their personal looks, right? Is that a rule? Because I remember we were in a show in Cape Breton, and one of the managers, Hogan, called the lady in the front row that she was fat.
Yeah.
And the man with the lady took quite offense to it.
Well, you see, 10, 15 years ago, you call somebody fat, that was just funny.
Right.
Where nowadays, it's so fucking
everything's
politically
so
correct
sensitive
that they send you to fucking sensitivity training.
Right.
Right? It's bullshit. But on a politically correct note, I mean, I don't know, man. It's I have done it, obviously.
Yeah.
You know?
Rick Rude used to call everyone fat.
I was thinking of that too, like, you fat, ugly,
right?
That's calling
morons.
everybody fat. You know what I mean? If you
Exactly.
single out one person and say, you are the
Yeah.
fattest person here, and you should be ashamed of yourself, like,
That's
they're not
true.
coming back to the next show, and you're going to lose that ticket.
Yeah, because the only time I've attacked somebody verbally, on a personal level, is if they really said something to me,
To you.
like, or did something where I'm like, fuck you, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't say that, but then I might throw a little dig in there.
You're not just going to like stand in the ring, eye over the crowd, and just single out some guy and be like, hey, you fatty.
Yeah, that, if say you're cutting a promo, everybody's listening, paying attention, and all of some fucking loudmouth, super loud, says, you're a fucking, like,
Yeah.
you're going to say something. He started, but like you said, as far as just going out singling somebody, I don't like her hair color, so you're a cunt,
Right.
So, I don't believe in that.
You said you said promos, like, again, with heels and faces. How easy or hard is it to cut a promo? Is it easier as a heel, or to get out there as a babyface and try to win the crowd over?
Dude, for me, and I think most workers would agree that it's a lot easier being a heel than it is being a face.
It is.
It's easy to get people to hate you to a degree,
Right.
But it's really fucking hard to get people to like you if they don't want to. So, as far as promos go, and yeah, I would definitely say heel, and I think most everybody would agree.
James,
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
have you been heel and face in your career?
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah, mainly heel. With Wrestle Center, they mainly kept me heel, but I did a little bit of baby face.
Right.
But
What did you find easier?
that's a good question.
Because your Kent Gentleman character was different, I found. Because he was supposed to be
Yeah,
heel.
it was one of those a play on it, right?
Right.
Yeah, he thought. I mean,
He
you
thought he
ask
was
Ken
the nicest-
Gentleman.
right.
Ken Gentleman's the biggest baby face around.
Right.
But, it's Ken Gentleman's job to show everybody
He's
how to
bipolar.
be nice.
Yeah, when you posted that first video as Kent Gentleman, that's what I thought it was like a kind of like a bipolar thing, like you like almost like Waylon Mercy back in like the 90s.
I love Waylon Mercy.
Whereas like he thinks he's like a nice guy, and he comes out, kills a guy, and then he's like shaking hands with the referee, shaking hands with everyone, like, oh, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Just
What was the? So we're talking about what's easier heel
Yeah.
or face. Yeah, I mean, I think I was still feeling a lot of it out. I mean, still very, very green.
You were
when it
still
came to the
getting
whole thing,
right?
right?
I feel being a baby face.
Yeah. So to be honest, I'm not super confident to say, well, this is how it is and this is what was easier. I mean, learning a lot about both.
Right.
I enjoyed both. I mean, like, you know, I loved being the white meat baby face as, you know, at ECPW. That was a ton of fun. But it's also fun to kind of just ham it up and be cheesy with Kent Gentleman.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just tell people that, you know, like, we're a bunch of rotten, horrible people that they need to learn
Right.
how to be nice and they need to pay attention. Right?
And
So-
even your partnership with Greaser James Carr.
Yeah.
James Carr was the heel.
Yes.
And you were like the sympathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's,
love that dynamic.
me too. And you know what? It never really
Such a good
ended,
story.
or like there was no end to that story.
Yeah, I just kind of, you know, it didn't have the ending it deserved anyway.
But technically, you were a heel because you were associated with James Carr.
Exactly, and you know, it's
And
one
you
of
were
those,
doing
it's
it
like
for moral good reason,
Right.
you know, like it was
You
cool.
needed the money, wasn't
He
it?
needed the money.
Yeah,
His dad.
Yeah, the dad was
so
sick
it
and all
was
that stuff,
people
yeah.
could feel for him,
Right.
but hate his, you know, whatever his partner.
Right.
Yeah.
at the same
And he
time,
did cheat on behalf
Yeah.
of James Carr.
but he was always enticed to do it.
Right.
James would be like, "Come on, do this." Like, but
Exactly.
you can tell he hated to do it. I thought that was great.
Right, me
Loved
too.
That angle.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And it produced one of my favorite video packages ever, which was the
Halloween
Halloween
skit.
video. That was amazing.
James Carr is the fucking, oh my god, I don't know why I'm such a mark of him, but his fucking on-camera stuff, I couldn't watch enough of it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
you'd be sitting there watching these promos, these vignettes, whatever, him and, you know, you see James going on, and then all of a sudden you see James Carr fucking pop out sideways through the camera, say,
Yeah.
it was just, I don't know, he's got a gift in front of that camera.
I agree. And you know, if you're friends with James Carr, like outside of wrestling, and you're like we're hanging here having beers, he's just as charismatic, and
Oh my
so it's
God,
just
yeah.
you know he just turned up that dial for his character of wrestling.
It was one of those things too. I don't know if you guys seen the like kind of street fight thing that he had with Nick in Wrestle Center. I think it only aired on the TV show. And yes, exactly. When he goes, he like slams Nick into the phone booth, and he picks up the phone to like call a cab, and he's like
Singing the
he's
jingle
like,
and stuff.
4, 2, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6.
But he's saying this now, yeah.
But
So-
only
I didn't
people
see
around
that.
only people around here
Oh
would
my
get, but
God,
it
I
was just
gotta see that.
hilarious.
That is incredible.
yeah.
That's the shit he come up with. Just, man, it was just like a,
He's gifted.
yeah, totally.
Again, I think Kofi Christ is the same.
Yep.
He's so gifted when it comes to stuff like that.
Let's shit on people instead of putting people
All right.
We're doing good. We're not going to get too much heat for this.
It's always I always hear that the heel calls the match.
Nah, that's old school.
That's old school.
Very, very old school. I mean, whoever's got the most experience in there is going to call the match. There are exceptions. You know, again, I'll use one of my experiences. Bobby Roode was a great worker from fucking day one. He was probably a good worker when he was shitting his diapers. But I mean, Bobby and I don't have that much more experience, but at the time, I think he broke in 99, around there. I broke in 97. So I had about 2 years, a couple hundred matches under my belt when he only had, maybe 40, 50 matches. So he comes down with Real Action, I think it was. Yeah, Real Action Wrestling. And I was like, we worked probably 100 times together. And dude, I called my shit, but he was creative. He's Bobby fucking Roode, right? In my opinion, one of the best wrestlers in the world, definitely. And he's just, in that case,
So he was babyface at that time?
Yeah. When I first started working the circuit with him, he was babyface. But I would always, I never had an ego in wrestling, so if you can put your ego aside, you should know for yourself who can call a better match. If you're a creative guy and you come up with good matches all the time, hey, but myself, I'd rather have, because I'm not creative whatsoever, so I'd rather have the other guy. I don't give a shit if you've got less, if you're good and you can come up with a good match, perfect. Less work for me to do, right?
And I think you told me before, like, you still, with your experience and knowing how psychology should go, you put it through whatever they say, you kind of put it through that filter and you kind of stop them and say, hey, no, that doesn't make sense.
See, in the last, 5-10 years, once I got a grasp of psychology and experience, I'd always let the other person, like I just said earlier, call the match or come up with the match. But of course, from my experience, if I knew, like, it doesn't make sense, of course I'm going to change it and say, no, it doesn't make sense and stuff like that. But I mean, nowadays, it's I like to get the guy I'm working, even if he's got fucking 2 months in the business, because it's a great learning tool for
Right.
you. Okay, you come up with the match, and then I'll tweak it as you go. You come up with something, and I'll fix it.
How
And that way
nerve-wracking
he's
is
gonna
that?
learn, right?
How has that ever, like, when you first started, James? Did someone say, you know what, you're going to call a match? Is it nerve
Just
wracking?
for the record, not that it's a lot of guys with big egos in wrestling, but it doesn't happen that often that guys are like me.
Okay.
Most guys in wrestling are creative,
Right.
but I'm not.
Okay.
So I'm just like the beaten stepchild. Carry on, James. No, let's throw that in.
Not that I can recall. I mean, I haven't been in a spot where I never really felt like, I didn't have an opinion. It's usually like if someone was, saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, they usually ask me, like, hey, what do you like to do? Is there anything you want to get in there? If there is, how can we work that in? Like, people have been pretty cooperative and pretty good that way. Like,
Watching wrestling, Chris, what can you think back to something that happened that a heel did to a babyface that sticks in your mind? You thinking, man, that was like the greatest heel moment ever.
You know what? I can't think of anything too much off the top of my head, but I think it might just go back to when we were talking about Steve Austin and like Bret Hart, because the whole
that was one of the greatest angles ever.
That whole storyline where Bret Hart would
too.
get like booed out of the building in U.S. and then come to Canada, and he's the
biggest
biggest guy
baby
ever,
face.
right?
That was such a cool time.
That
in
was a
wrestling.
great.
It was.
Yeah.
That's like right when I started, and it was a good time for me to start. And that's what I think.
That's when I
what hooked
started
me.
wrestling, '97. So it was cool, man.
Another match that pops in my head is The Rock versus Hulk Hogan in
wasn't
Toronto.
that 16 years ago today?
That was 16 years ago today. But that's one of those things where they both went into the match. Hogan was heel, The Rock was babyface, but because they were in Toronto, the fans just completely
Defend a cheer.
right. But have you ever found yourself in that spot, Gary, where you're either the heel or the babyface and you're getting the complete opposite reaction?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if you are, what do you do in the match? Do you cater to what you're
Remind
hearing?
me to tell you the Edge bad news story.
Okay.
After, but yeah, it's happened in my situation where, I'm a heel, I'm working a face, whoever, and this is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to fight, So for the sake of having a match that's going to make sense, you sometimes switch it up on the fly. Now you can't just do that. Depending on who you work for, how much experience you have. Like I could pull it off, nobody would care. Like if it was working for Chuck or whoever. But I guess I've done it before, not many times, but maybe 3-4 times.
Right.
But the Edge and Bad News, like it was same situation. They were working Grand Prix, so they were working this same match every night because we'd work fucking 8 days a week. And for months at a time. So Edge and Bad News were doing a program. They were working every night. And everywhere they go, well, of course, I'm trying to think here. Who was Bad News was a heel and Edge was the babyface. So, of course, back then, nobody knew who Edge was. It was just a good-looking young fucking...
Yeah.
Sexton Hardcastle.
Sexton Hardcastle, that's right. Part of the Suicide Blondes with Christian Cage. But they, nobody knew who they were. But then he's working Bad News Brown, So
And they know bad news.
And they know Bad
So
News.
they're going to cheer him because, holy shit, look, it's Bad News Brown from the WWF, you know what I'm saying? So in that case, Bad News sat there one day and goes, motherfucker, well, fucking shit. They completely, I don't know if you listened to the ENC podcast, but I think they mentioned that they told this story, but they completely switched the match. So heel, the Bad News became the babyface, but they completely did, like, Bad News did the moves he could with, like, they completely switched the roles.
Right.
Not just the roles, but the fucking moves.
Their moves.
Oh, it was crazy. It was the funniest fucking thing, man.
And did the fans follow? Like, were they
They
cheering?
did. I forget where it was, but they did it for one night where they completely, and it was like start of the match, I believe it was, like where they just decided,
Yeah.
Bad News, like, let's flip it around.
Yeah.
Good learning experience for Adam. at the time,
I
too,
can imagine.
But
Just on that note, with the whole heel and face, getting the opposite cheers. Dave, you might have been there. Chris, I'm willing to bet you were there. This would have been WB House Show in Halifax Forum, probably early 2000s. Lance Storm was in a tag. I don't know.
Was it the cage match with Edge and Kurt Angle in the main event?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know who's on the tag. I just know that Lance Storm is in a tag, and everybody was going crazy wanting Lance Storm to tag in. Like, we want Storm, we want Storm. And Storm was a heel. So then finally Storm, he just said, hey guys, I'm trying to be a heel here, okay? And the crowd's like, oh, okay, you suck, bro, we hate you. And they just tried to...
and again, I think that's brilliant because, I mean, they're cheering for him. We're in Canada, and that's how the crowd is. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect. And plus, it being at that level, WWE, if you're at a house show, you can get away with that shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, if it was TV taping,
totally different. You'd be getting your pink slip.
I think I brought this up on New Scott's podcast when I was on there, but there was, I think it was 2003. They had a show in Quebec, and La Resistance were wrestling Edge and Benoit for the tag titles. And I've never, watching on TV, I've never seen a building go so crazy than when La Resistance won the tag titles.
It was a French
because it was in
connection.
Montreal,
Right.
and they were French.
Right.
Even though
But
Edge
they were
and
the
Benoit
heels.
were Canadian, but they were, La Resistance were the heels, and they lost it when La Resistance won the titles. It's probably the only time they were ever cheered.
Yeah.
And their entire, run in WWE.
Wow.
Was that when Renee or Rob
It was,
Conway?
no, it was when Renee went to SmackDown. I think it was, it was Rob Conway and Sylvan.
Okay.
Sylvain Grenier.
cool. We're going to end soon. God, we've been talking for an hour already.
Really?
Good Lord.
Wow.
I know, right?
Goodbye.
If I said right now the best heel in the business ever, who pops in your mind?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
Active now or what?
And not local. We'll do local later, but international. Like the who's up there, the best heel.
Ric Flair.
I mean,
that's an easy answer, but it's true.
I was going to stick with Rick Rude,
Rick Rude?
who we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Rick Rude.
Jesus, I definitely have to go with Flair. I mean, there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you think the Ric Flair of the 70s and 80s would be as hated if he was now just starting and current with the
Better than more so the guys nowadays, but
and just
not as
how
much.
smart the fans are now?
It
Stuff
wouldn't work as well now.
Right.
He'd
be the cool guy. He'd be the Steve Austin. I think.
definitely, because back then when he's bragging about the limousine and the fucking
The suits.
Learjets and people would pop over that now.
Right.
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 So,
Exactly.
Yeah, he's in rap videos now. Ric Flair, right?
Flair's over.
Yeah, Flair.
But yeah.
But again, it's different time, different crowds, different.
And with
Everyone
with the internet now too, if he claimed all that and then people saw him riding in a rent-a-car to
Right.
the next building, they'd be take a picture,
Yeah.
post it on social media. Ric Flair's a phony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, that would have never happened because he lived this fucking gimmick in and out of the ring 24/7.
What you
That's
gotta do.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
He really, when he talks about, and I've got obviously good sources in wrestling that can confirm this. He literally paid thousands of dollars for his robes.
Yeah.
He went broke a couple of times
Yeah, for sure.
in his heyday because he kept doing the gimmick. When the money stopped, he didn't stop.
I think Ted DiBiase did do for a bit, did he not?
Not sure. Didn't hear
He
about that.
pretty well lived his $1 million gimmick as much as he could.
Well,
And
according to some podcast Ted was on, that Vince told him, we are going to pay.
yeah, Vince. It was out of Vince's pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make sure if they see you, they're going to be, in the limos in the first class.
I think when I said top heel too, and it was only for a short period of time, but when Sergeant Slaughter turned heel on Hulk Hogan, and it was so personal with what was going on with the war that he was getting death threats. His family were getting.
That's why they had to move. I think it was WrestleMania 7. They had to move into an arena because they were worried that a sniper was going to kill him.
Oh, it's crazy, man. I mean, guys Bruiser Brody and a local guy that we knew, Rotten Ron Starr, God rest his soul.
Right.
He was like a David Schultz type of heel.
Yeah.
He was such a heel. Had that Mike Hughes thing I was saying. They legit. But that was back in the. So there was a lot of people like that.
Right.
But man, he'd have to leave the arena with a knife in his hand because he got jumped so many times. Right. So it's tough.
As Shawn Michaels, I'm pretty sure, will be a heel to the day we die in Montreal.
Yes.
So no matter what Shawn Michaels does, I'm sure if he walked into an arena in Montreal, he'll be booed. No matter.
Yeah.
There's
some certain circumstances.
Yeah, it's not heel. They just hate him.
Yeah.
I think even that has almost come to the point of Kurt Angle getting "you suck" chants. It's just a thing to do when Shawn Michaels is in Montreal, it's just you screw Brett.
Yeah, I think John Cena is now getting that. I think fans legit respect John Cena, but they'll still say, John Cena sucks.
Exactly, and nobody has earned the respect from the crowd as being cheered now, because he's more so being cheered as John Cena.
Yeah.
I mean, how long has he been in WWE now?
16 years.
Thanks, Chris.
It's been a face the whole time. Even through kind of what Roman's going through. But man, Cena took some lickings and just became the biggest merch seller and the biggest baby face in the company.
Do you think Roman Reigns is just getting booed because it's the cool thing to do? Because I watch his matches. I think he's a fantastic
Roman
worker.
Reigns looks fabulous. He's got a great fucking gimmick. He's a fucking great worker. I mean, he should be the superstar that they were pushing to be. But I think they just pushed him too fast
down their
soon.
throat. Yeah.
Too fast, too soon. That was it. The crowd, because they're smart marks, they know what's going on. They knew that. And I think somebody actually, no, this was John Cena, but it was like they knew that was WWE's next big push. That this is going to be your next big champion, your mega superstar, and it was just people knew that, and I think they felt cheated out of it.
Right.
So obviously, Roman unfortunately took the heat for that.
Yeah, because when they were the Shield, he was the coolest of the three. Everyone loved Roman Reigns.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's nothing to boo about Roman Reigns, man.
Should they have done more like a slow burn for him to the top?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, once they broke the Shield up, that was it. All right, let's push this guy to the top. And they did.
Because for, Steve Austin, by the time he got over with the King of the Ring Austin 316 promo, he didn't win, the WWF title until 2 years later.
That's true.
He had plenty of shots, but he just never did it until they finally did it at WrestleMania.
That's it.
And boom, that was it. That was the start of the Attitude Era.
Exactly. And that was the reason why Roman Reigns didn't work and Steve Austin worked, because with Steve Austin, he did that.
It was
organic.
It was organic.
He did it. It wasn't pushed. Nobody did. Even if the crowd was super smart back then, they wouldn't have thought, oh, he's getting a... No. You could tell that was...
Yeah.
Steve Austin did that, where Roman Reigns was kind of pushed in a weird situation where it's okay,
Yeah.
It's kind of like a match, I guess, right? You want the babyface to come back and win the match, but you get a good heel who's going to tease that spot and kind of get the heat on him, right? And so if you just take the babyface and just here you go, and you don't make him struggle for it, fight with the boss and get screwed out of opportunity after opportunity like Austin did.
Yeah.
When he finally does get it, you're going to pop just like you would.
Instead of just being here's the guy, we're making him champion. Boom, he's the champion. You want to see him come this close. I mean, you can't see my fingers on this right now, but this close to winning that title, only to lose it and then be oh, but I really want him to win. I hope he gets it someday, and then when he finally does, yay! He did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I personally don't think it's going to happen, but can you imagine the heat Cena would get if he was to turn heel? The guy's 16 years, what did you say? Whatever. It's never the crowd would be what?
When Hulk Hogan.
It would have been when Undertaker lost his fucking WrestleMania streak. I mean, people because they'd be so shocked, because I think except for old time wrestling, I've never seen that where a fucking worker has been a babyface for the same company for that long of a time.
I just said Hulk Hogan. That's the only person I can think
WCW
when he turned heel. The fans filled the ring with garbage.
I feel something like that you would have to do, almost take someone that the fans really love, everyone loves. Say Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Have him this close to winning the big one, even though he already did for a day or whatever. But have him this close to winning the big one on a big show, and then Cena screw him.
But it won't happen now, because Cena's at the end of his, I think, the end of his wrestling career.
Seems like it.
Best heel local.
Oh wow, best heel local.
The name that pops in my head is Brody Steele.
Well, I mean, when you're getting when you have to get wasn't he escorted by guards in India because they were afraid the Indians were going to kill him?
But I mean, even local shows,
I think they're just protecting the Indians.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I have to go with Mike Hughes.
Mike, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Brody is obviously right there next to him. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, James.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. You guys already took the two main answers. I'm trying to be different here, but I mean, Brody and Mike. I mean, those are the ones. I mean, Titus can get over as a heel, really strong.
Yeah. But he's also, when he's a babyface, he is over.
I remember that first IHW show I went to. I drove up with
Cape
you.
Breton.
Yeah, well, IHW show. You were you told me. Well, even that one at Port Hawkesbury, he was over, even though he just kicked Madison in the face a week ago. But they don't know that.
Right.
But when we were going to IHW in Moncton, you told me, you were like, watch this. Titus is like John Cena here. I was like, wow. Holy crap.
I'll tell you one guy who's getting over as a heel, and to my surprise anyway, should be to everybody's surprise, is Brett.
Yep.
I mean, he went from, the drizzling shits to what the fuck are you doing in the ring, insecure and like a little baby in his fucking eggshell, to I watched his last match with Madison, and I was like, holy shit.
He has a character that you want to hate.
What drugs did he take?
Yep.
But he learned how to work because he had so many insecurities with his old gimmick. I mean, that's another topic, but I always say, like, once a worker can find their gimmick that they're comfortable with, it's a whole new realm.
And
then
once you have confidence, then you're out there as a heel.
Yes.
Like, bam, you can tell this guy believes.
When you believe in yourself in there, and you believe in your character and what you're doing, the fans are going to believe. And that was a perfect example of that with Brett.
I remember when that kind of like first started. I think it might have been the start of it was last year's UCW anniversary show. I think he was on the pre-show in that like tag match where I think he teamed with like Jake and Chris Hicks.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember Brett took his shirt off. And everyone was just shitting on him for his back hair, like, shave your back.
And did
That's
the
disgusting.
smart thing and got it over.
Exactly,
To
right?
his advantage.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Chris Hicks,
Chris
another
Hicks.
guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love his stuff because it's that cheesy.
It's the cheesy.
The classic.
Gets
old,
underneath your
my God.
skin.
Yeah, I mean, that gets heat.
When he goes to Fredericton,
The
it's
farmer's
crazy.
tent is incredible. I'm such a mark for that farmer's
Yeah, the fans run right up to the ring after him. They hate him.
Yeah.
And he basically just tells them off. And
They must be jealous of his like great physique.
Maybe.
The big chest and the
I
big
love
bar,
Chris
big
Hicks.
heart.
Best babyface. Who?
We're
To me,
talking-
Hulk Hogan. Growing up,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I have to go with Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. I mean, just Shawn Michaels is definitely, if you ask me, who do you think is the best worker,
All-around
of
worker?
all time, work, face, heel, whatever? I would pick Shawn Michaels, but Jesus, yeah, Hogan and Michaels for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say Hulk Hogan. But again, if Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania started 5 years ago, I don't think he would be what he.
I don't think so.
No, but I mean, Hogan would. I think Hogan,
It's
he
a
has that
different time.
natural charisma. Like
Yes.
you mention it all the time, like that natural charisma. He'd find out something to connect with the fans. And I really think he's just, whether it's Michaels or Hogan or just, or like, Mr. Perfect, all these guys, they can just kind of, whatever mold you put them in, they'll make it work. They can adjust to that.
See, now that you said that, I almost want to change my answer.
Well, you can change your
Well, no,
answer.
it's just-
No, it's
Mike
locked
was always-
in.
Mike, everybody asks me, who are your two favorite wrestlers? I look at it, okay, who did I grow up liking? Who did I want to be like? And blah, blah, blah. It's always Michaels and Bret Hart, right?
Okay.
It's always been those two growing up. Always loved them. So, but now that you say that, there's nobody else in the wrestling realm of the world, of anybody out there, that as of 2011 when I was on a couple shows with Hogan. Because every time I watch a pay-per-view, and I've watched them over the years, other than Ultimate Warrior, who did it a couple of times, I got goosebumps every fucking time that man stepped out of the ring. He comes in, it's like, And 2011, did a tour with him, and I'm out in the back watching the show, and sure enough, I was like, this is the test. He's here, he's in front of me, I met him,
Which I'm so jealous
as
right
soon
now.
as he comes out, as soon as he came out, the fucking goosebumps. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You can't teach that. You can't. That is just an aura, charisma, whatever the fuck it
Right.
is. Nobody has ever been able to do that, and Hogan definitely does that for me.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people.
I think you always joke with me when we're in Vegas. You always call me a fucking mark.
'Cause you are.
And I try to contain myself, but I'm telling you, if Hulk Hogan walked into a room, I would probably piss my pants first.
I had a mouthful of brownies when I Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
So we're in, I think it was Corner Brook, Newfoundland, when, so Hogan was on two of the shows of the tour with the CWI, and I'm in catering, and I'm stuffing my face with brownies. It was during my fat stages. And it's just me in the catering by myself. In comes Hogan. And I'm fucking sitting there stuffing my face with brownies, and here comes Hogan. He goes, "How you doing, Terry?" I'm like, Hold on one second. I was ready to spit it out, and he just giggled, and I fucking shook his hand and stuff. But man, what a way to fucking meet your, Hulk Hogan, the biggest fucking name in wrestling.
James, who comes to mind?
For biggest babyface?
Yeah, biggest babyface.
Yeah, no, Hogan, yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, that's, for sure. I mean, I think he's the one that really kind of put wrestling on the mainstream map, I mean, I was, back when Hulkamania kind of first started and kind of really exploded, I mean, I wasn't even really born. I wasn't born until 88, so I kind of, watched a lot of older Hogan stuff and it growing up and things like that, and you just really connect with Hogan. He just does it.
Yeah. Chris?
So because of the time when I started watching wrestling was right when the NWO was huge, so I fucking hated Hogan.
Right, he was a heel.
Yeah, a little 7-year-old me hated fucking Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And but for me, like, it would have been later on, and he could also play a really good heel, even though it was very short as his face run, was The Rock. Okay, so for the year 2000, The Rock was the biggest thing in wrestling because Austin was out for that year, so The Rock was like way up here, all the way at the top.
Right. And another guy who never really changed who he was. So when he was face or when he was heel, he practically was the same guy doing the same catchphrases, and it was just a matter of who he was facing, maybe, which made if he was a heel or a face. Because really, The Rock as a heel and The Rock as a face were the same. It was the same.
I mean, Hollywood Rock was one of the greatest things ever. Honestly.
Yeah, when they switched.
Yeah. Be like Hollywood douchebag Rock. Like, I'm famous. Here's my limo. I'm gonna come in on my helicopter. Because I'm the fucking Rock.
Right.
I'm in movies. Who are you? And I would like to give another honorable shout out. He was only a friggin' a heel for maybe like 3 months in WCW, but one who was consistent was Rey Mysterio.
Okay.
And nobody would probably sell more merch than Rey Mysterio. Those fucking masks, every kid and every crowd in those times had a Rey Mysterio mask on their head.
Yeah. Does that determine when a promoter decides who's going to be heel or face by how much merch they sell? Not so much the local scene, but international.
Well,
like like WWE and
I don't know. It's
because like
I don't know. I really can't answer that question because I don't know.
No. Well, that's it. I guess we'll end it there. Gary Williams. Where can people reach you on Twitter, sir? I know love the Twitter. I wrote it down for you.
I actually know what it is, man. It's not crazy. Yeah, I guess you can reach me on Twitter. I do get my messages and stuff, so I breeze through it, once every 6 months. So, it's at WildmanGW on the Twitter, and on MySpace. Is MySpace still active?
MySpace has shut down, Gary.
Oh, I thought I was working on that last week. That must have been something else.
I actually did back in like 2006. I followed Wildman Academy on MySpace.
I got proof, man. Wildman at MySpace.com.
Back when you were making a GeoCities website.
Angel Fire was mine.
Angel Fire.
Oh, I do have a website too.
We're about the same age, are we not, Gary?
Yeah, we are. I'm 45. How old are you?
I'll be 45 in June, so there you go. I remember when the internet was born.
Dude. But yeah, wildmanwilliams.com.
Okay.
And of course on Facebook.
I didn't know you had a webpage.
Oh, yeah.
And when was it updated last?
I did it all by myself.
I don't know if you
I'm
knew
so
this,
looking
but,
that up tonight.
I was looking up stuff with New Scott. You have a Wikipedia too.
Yeah. And I need to check on that quite often to see what the fuck I did in my lifetime.
Well,
it's
you know what?
Insane. The shit on there. I was like, what exact date did I start? I knew it was like late May, 97. I was like, I go on Wikipedia. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. There it is.
Whoever filled that, it was very specific too. Yeah. Like they have everything down. The date, like a long timeline.
It hasn't been updated for a bit. I've noticed because I was looking at it just the other day.
Wikipedia?
Yeah, your Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was my my ex-girlfriend Kathy.
Okay.
Yeah, Kathy Edmond. She
shout out to Kathy.
Oh yeah, she's hey, that's why they called her Kathipedia. The Wikipedia of wrestling. She's something else, that one, man. But yeah, I think she has a lot to do with it, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that's great because I don't remember half the shit.
Yeah.
I look at stuff on there, it's like, holy shit, I was there, all these dates, and it's great.
James, where can people find you, sir?
My place. He comes over every Friday, Saturday.
Well, there you go. If you want to talk to James Smith, go to Wildman Gary Williams' place.
On Twitter, I'm at Striking Star, and Star has 2 R's on the end of it.
Tommy Star.
Tommy.
Chris Cass.
You can follow me on Twitter at CASS or Cadoubles if you want to. the Castifer was taken, which is usually my handle on things, but it was something I came up with. But you can follow me on there. Or
like
you
Jeff Jarrett.
You know what? You can even add me on Facebook if you want to. I don't care. Just
There
don't
you
send
go.
me too many messages or I'm blocking you.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Dave Boyce. This has been fun. Has it been fun?
Yeah, it's been
First ever.
Let's do it again next week.
We shall. We'll just sit down every week.
Every podcast is the same 4 guys. Fuck JP Sims.
Yes, JP.
He
was
just
supposed to be
superstarred
here.
us for this whole thing.
Yeah, you've been replaced, JP. Sorry.
Speaking of JP Sims, he's a natural heel. Yes.
Yeah, he's it's
We
funny.
almost ended this podcast, but let's quickly talk about JP.
Yeah, this is the never-ending podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The Chris Cass podcast.
He's
It's got a good ring to it.
It
doesn't
does.
JP is, I think, a great heel, but it's because I don't think he tries. I think it's just
It's
people
kind of
don't
the
like.
crowd really, yeah.
They just don't like JP.
It's funny. It's a weird demographic, but it does, yeah.
And he loves it. He embraces it.
Yeah,
Hey man,
of course, as he
Cashmere
should.
must love me because those early Wrestle Center shows, I was going to the Superstore and buying like 24 rolls of cashmere so we could douse them in it instead of streamers.
So there you go. Shout out to JP who stood us up.
JP
But
Sims.
Anyway.
Work on your punches, buddy.
that is it, you guys. Thanks for listening. I'm Dave Boyce. Join me next week with a whole new panel, or maybe not. Maybe these guys are moving in. I don't know. Anyway,
Us all the time.
I think
Anyway.
we're onto something.
thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.